Today we're taking a look at another Linux distribution, and that is Elementary OS, which is displayed on this monitor over here. Basically, the draw is this. It's Linux, but beautiful. Okay, real quick, let's just go over the test setup for the Elementary OS, just so you can sort of get a bearing of what kind of performance you might be able to expect with your own computer. First and foremost, and this is probably most important for this system, is this is a 120 gigabyte SATA SSD. There's nothing special about it. It's a Lite-On SSD in case you're wondering, but pretty normal SATA 3 performance from that. We have a dedicated graphics card. That's just an old AMD R5 or an R7, something like that. And that's just for this HDMI out for the capture card. And the processor is a Core 2 Quad. I cannot remember what it's clocked at off the top of my head, but it is paired with 4 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM that are sitting down in there. So nothing spectacular. In case you're wondering, this is an old Optiplex 960. They are super cheap on eBay. I think I got this for around $50, but it's super good for testing out Linux systems, or you could use it for a dedicated network attached storage if you wanted to do something like that. Upon booting into Elementary OS, we are immediately presented with a nice wallpaper, but there are immediately problems that I find with the operating system. First and foremost, there's no Finder in the dock. Now, this is an operating system that's sort of modeled after Mac OS, but to get to files, you actually have to go into the applications and open files, which isn't a big deal for somebody that's computer savvy, but if you are a very non-computer savvy person, it may take you a little while to find your way into the actual file system. And that's where our next problem comes in almost immediately. And that is that packages, such as the Google Chrome package I've downloaded, it seems like Elementary OS doesn't know what to do with them. It only opens Terminal because I told it to, but upon first clicking it, it showed no applications that could use the package and had no clue what to do. So I went into the terminal and Googled the command line for installing Chromium OS, or Chromium browser rather, and that went very smoothly once I entered that command into the terminal. However, out of the box, Elementary OS doesn't appear to know how to handle packages downloaded from the internet or third-party services. The next big problem I have in general with Elementary OS is the fact that the dock doesn't act out of the box like I like it to. Now, this isn't such a problem as a personal preference thing. However, it is worth noting. Out of the box, if you open an app that fills up the screen, the dock goes and hides. That's fine for some people, especially once you realize that if you just hover over the dock, it pops right back in where it's supposed to be. But as a personal preference, I don't like that. So again, I have to hop into system settings, and there's no dock there. However, if you type in the search box dock, it shows that it's under desktop. You click dock, and you uncheck that box, and the dock will then stay persistent at the bottom as I would like it to stay anyways. Now that I have my desk set up mostly how I want it, and by desktop being set up mostly how I want it, basically I mean getting Chromium installed because that's my browser of choice, or Chrome on every other product I use, I need to start looking around the computer a little bit. So when I open the calendar app, I notice that it's super snappy. It opens almost immediately, and that it's built in the design language of Elementary OS, and that's because they baked in their own homemade apps that do a lot of the things normal people will be doing, such as calendars. They have a mail app, which I would never use because I don't use mail apps typically on the desktop side. They have a music app that very clearly draws from what iTunes has been doing. And they have other apps available as well as an app center, which will help you keep all of your applications up to date. That being said, there are some more issues that sort of rear their ugly head with Elementary OS. And that is that the App Center is here to sort of show us what we already have and very little else. If I click into Accessories, you'll notice I have every application that's here. If I kick into Audio, I have the Music app. Development, there's literally nothing there. Education, nothing there. Games, it does show me that I can install Steam through the App Center. fact, going through it, there is literally one application that I don't have on the computer that it gives me the option for, and that is Steam. That's a big problem. In other versions of Linux, the App Center or App Store, it's not really a store, or Download Center, whatever it happens to be called depending on the distribution, typically there are packages there from other applications that you can just click and install very easily and very quickly. That's not the case with Elementary OS. So who is Elementary OS actually catering to? If you think that it's the Mac people that are making a transition over to Linux, then you might be right, but there are some obvious flaws with the operating system that are going to deter people that are coming from Mac, because Mac OS has some of these things down very well. For example, the Mac App Store is a robust place to find new applications and have basically one-click installers. This is not the case with the App Center on Elementary OS. This operating system is also not directed at Linux purists who will typically go towards other more common distros that offer a wider gamut of customization. Elementary OS really is only there to look good on the surface, and frankly, if you're hell-bent on changing how it looks, why are you even here in the first place? Now, there's no denying that Elementary OS is a gorgeous operating system, although it comes across once you start using it as more of a concept piece of art than it comes across as an actual robust operating system. The App Center just isn't there, and it's not well developed at all to give anybody the functionality they need, and because it does not handle packages well at all, it forces you into the terminal, and frankly, there are tons of people that are looking for an operating system that is a good Windows alternative or a good Mac alternative that still gives them a GUI that offers them the ability to have installers, one-click installers, and the ability to have an easy overall computing experience without having to shell out the money for a Mac computer or without having to shell out the money for a Windows license. So I guess that brings me to my conclusion on Elementary OS. On the one hand, it looks great. The design language is about flawless. It very well mimics Mac OS, and people that are used to Mac OS settings will be right at home digging into the settings of Elementary OS. On the other hand, it doesn't offer you an easy, intuitive way to install new applications, and it doesn't handle packages downloaded from the internet very well. In addition, there's no reason for anybody that's a hardcore Linux user to be here because the whole purpose of the operating system is its look and feel. Windows and Mac have great ecosystems because they offer these services that are just lacking in Elementary OS, and until those services are delivered in Elementary OS, there's just really no reason to come and stay. If you like me taking a look at these different Linux distributions and sort of just giving you this overview so you know what to expect if you try them out for yourself, give me a big like down below, or a subscribe down below if you absolutely love this, or if you are just absolutely enthusiastic, give it a share on social media as well. By the way, with social media, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram @Hoosier Hardware. I'm Shane, and I will see you guys in the next video.